Cool.
Enjoy. Tell me to say bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. G'day, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Excited. So I'll just do a quick little intro and we'll just jump straight into it if you're cool with that.
Alright.
Alright, cool. So here we go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Woke Bloke podcast. I'm Nick Sutherland from Myndfit, and in an interesting development, Ryan Hassan from the Centre for Healing has reached enlightenment. So he's disappeared. He has become one with the universe, and he no longer exists. So we've got to change the name to the Woke Bloke podcast. But in an exciting another development, we have Ryan's partner Mel in today. So Mel, welcome, and thanks for replacing Ryan.
Thank you. Yeah, he's gone 5D, full 5D.
Yeah,
so
5D.
He's
crazy.
Around. Sometimes I talk to him in the ether, but can't find him anywhere.
You're sitting there and you just experience him on some level somehow. It's just,
That's right.
Oh, he's here somewhere, his energy.
Exactly.
I was talking to a client about it the other day. What were they talking about? Dying. And I was living and dying. And I can't remember the exact sentence they said, but we started talking about how as soon as we're born we start dying, so we're living and dying at the same time. Yeah, they're not two separate things. But how we don't die, like it's only the body that dies, the energy doesn't die. It's just the organic structure of us dies, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. And like I 100% believe that. Like I was a total atheist before I got into all this stuff. Went to a Catholic school, all that, didn't believe any of it. It was like all about science. So when I went on my spiritual journey, I was like, holy crap, there's like my soul, and like there's this whole other level, like it's amazing. And then obviously taking clients through life between life and seeing and experiencing their soul over and over again for like a lot of years. And then it wasn't until like it was super confirmed, like I already knew, like I already trusted it. But when I got to speak to my dad on the other side, because he passed away this year, and I was just like blown away. He's like, it was like, the medium was amazing, and I went in there with a really open mind. Like I didn't have any expectations. I just needed to talk to him about a few things. I was blown away. It was like speaking directly to him. Like,
wow,
yeah, things that no,
that's going to be an unnerving experience, I imagine. If you've never experienced it your first time, and all of a sudden your dad, who was on this plane and on this planet, is no longer here. Where was he? Did you ask where he was?
And having a full conversation with him. No, I didn't really ask that. I just assume he's on the other side.
Other side of what? Where's the other side?
I don't know. Maybe he's like right here.
And when you say, I went on my spiritual journey, I'm imagining you packing a knapsack.
Yeah, I did.
Like a handkerchief.
No, more than a handkerchief. You need like boxes of tissues. Like
you've got a red and white checkered handkerchief that you fill with tissues, and you tie around a stick and sling it over your shoulder. Oh, see guys, I'm off on my spiritual journey. It's okay. So for listeners, we need to roll back a bit. So
yeah,
you and Ryan. Well, tell us a story. Bring us. So
how
does Mel fit into the grand scheme? Ryan's usually sitting in that seat, but
I know.
He's not here today. We've given him the arse.
I know. I was thinking yesterday. I'm like, woke blokes. I'm like saying to Ryan, I'm not a bloke. Like he's like, we've had girls in there because like obviously I don't even listen to the podcast because I get to.
Thanks for your support.
Yeah. I get to listen to Ryan's wisdom every day, and we trigger the shit out of each other every day. But anyway, yesterday I was like, I'm a bit blokey, like I'm a bit of a tomboy. I'll be right with Nick. And then yesterday, Ryan just confirmed that I'm not a bloke. Like we were like coming home from like dinner, and we got like a garage door, right? And like, so I'm standing on the outside and we go to like press the button, and Ryan has this thing where he waits till it gets right down to the bottom, and I'm just like freaking out because I think I've watched too much Final Destination or something when I was younger, and I'm like, hurry up, and he's standing there smiling at me, and then he goes, I'm gonna Indiana Jones it, and he just freaking like rolls under it just as like there's that much left, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not a bloke. I'm definitely not going to pretend that I am or anything.
That's
like.
right. But you're still woke, and you're still.
Yeah.
Just push your mic away a little bit. From,
Sorry.
That's all right, because we just push it out to the side. Yeah, try that.
Talking a bit loud.
No, that's all right. It's just they've sensitive mics, so they pick up on everything.
Sorry, but that wasn't our story. That was just our story from last night. But that really encapsulates our relationship.
Yeah. So where does it start? So Ryan's usually sitting in that seat. We've given him the flick today because I wanted to have a chat with you without his influence, just to really learn more about the other half of the Centre for Healing. And so take us back to the start. Ryan's in jail, he's shanking guys and shiving guys and all that sort of stuff, and he's deep in this abyss of a drug-fueled hellhole.
Do you know what? Our story starts earlier than that. We met before that happened.
Take me back. Where?
So I had just started my own practice. Like I finished studying. Halfway through my course, I'm like, this is what I'm meant to do. It was like NLP and stuff. And
was this after your spiritual journey?
This is just actually before, or like the start of the personal development journey, quite so. And then I resigned from my job like 2 weeks later, just because I was crazy, and then just started my practice in Chelsea, in Bayside.
What was your practice called?
MKH Empowerment.
Nice. MKH Empowerment.
Yeah. Anyway.
What's the K and H stand for?
That MKH are my initials.
Yeah, what's the K and H?
Anyway, Karen, which is my middle name, which is the name of my sister who died. So I got her as my middle name.
Died before you were born, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah,
My dad's second or third marriage or whatever.
Yep.
He's had 4. So.
Yep.
Yeah, his wife and his daughter died in a car accident. So yeah. So and the H is Hyman, right?
Yeah.
Which So that's my initials. I'm all about imperfect action. So I just made up whatever, made a crappy website, just got started. You just got to throw yourself in it. Yeah, you're the same.
Yeah, I did. Vistaprint. I did a Vistaprint website. Was my first one.
Nice.
It was horrible. Oh, it was blue.
But people don't care because they're so passionate. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
well, if the passion comes through, then that's what resonates, and the rest blows into the background. It's like with a person, when I had a friend once, and he. Should I tell this story? Yeah, I should. So
who are you asking?
Myself.
Okay.
My consciousness. I had a friend, and he was married to this very physically beautiful woman, and to look at stunning, head turner, any room, and they got married, and I think at the wedding, a few beers, and I was chatting to another mate, and he said, yeah, the first time you meet her is the most attractive she'll ever be. And I was like, wow, because I didn't really know her. I didn't spend a lot of time there. I said, why is that? And he goes, you'll figure it out. And yeah, that physical beauty really didn't stand up when the rest of her came out. And so I think with our businesses, early on, it's the same thing. It's got a substance to it. And if that comes out, all the surface, all the facade, can be misgiven.
That's right.
It's the essence of what comes out is what's important.
That's right, the energy behind it. So yeah, in those early days, I was just putting myself out there, workshops, speaking, blah, blah, blah. And down the road, there was this this lady that we knew mutually somehow, but she set up like this whole event at a medical clinic, and she had all different people come in to speak in front of her clients. And so I was there speaking about stress, and Ryan happened to be there, and he was speaking about nutrition because he was selling like nutritional products. I think he was the only guy there. I think they were
fish
We're-
out of water. And was he an aircon installer at the
he
time?
had already just finished that.
Right.
And he was selling the nutritional products full time.
Right.
And
Was that a pyramid scheme? Was that a Ponzi scheme?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But hey,
Yeah,
he learnt a lot. Has he got that? What are they? MLM vibes?
What's the ML? Multi-level marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think he does.
Anyway, so we just got talking there. We just connected straight away, and then we caught up a couple of times, and actually thought that we went on a date. But I think he was just pitching to me, and I got all dressed up, and he was wearing a fucking singlet as he does, and I'm like in a dress, and I'm like, and then like I don't hear from him. I think he came over once. Nothing happened. I was like, what's with this guy? Like, but he was just going through his like divorce and all that. Anyway, and then I didn't hear from him for a year. He full ghosted me. And then, so you don't know all this. This is like...
I don't. This is beautiful. This is such a beautiful time for me. I'm just sitting back. Keep going. Do your thing. Me and the listeners are invested now.
And then randomly, like one day I was just learning distance healing, and then I went online and I saw he popped up on my messenger like as online, you know, and I was like, oh, this fucking guy, like, what's he doing?
The ghost is
I'm
back.
gonna message him. No, I wasn't doing it that actually. I wonder how he's going. It was more like that really, but anyway.
Was he stalking you from a distance? Like, how does he?
I don't think so. I think that was the last of his worries, because then I messaged him. I'm like, hey, how you going? And he's like, oh, I could write a whole book. And I'm like, oh yeah. And so because I just learnt how to do distance healings, I just tuned into him, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel good. And then I said, oh, I can feel like I felt pain here, and I'm like, I can feel pain in your heart. And he's like, well, yeah. And then I took him through like this little thing where you tap into your inner child or whatever. And he was just like, he knew I was like some kind of coach or whatever. At this point, I was living with 2 other healers in Port Melbourne. And I had been for like almost a year. And yeah, he said, oh, can I come and see you? I'm like, yeah. All right. And then
were you like, is this another date? Or
no, he wanted a session, and then I'm like, but he wanted it the next day, and I was booked up, and then, yeah, and then someone cancelled like 2 hours later, and I messaged him, and yeah, he walked in, and I was like internally like, what the fuck? Because he was like, yeah, it's like 15 kilos lighter, and this is where I can plug my book in, because I've got this story like in my book that I've written, which I don't have. It's called The Natural High. I am not organised. I don't have a copy on my iPad to show, and I don't have the actual book because where I'm living in Thailand, the book hasn't arrived. Everyone else has been getting it within like 5 days.
I got my first copy. Did I tell you what happened?
Yeah, but you can tell the listeners. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mel sent me a copy, and which is beautiful, thank you. But I wanted to pay for a copy and support her. So when the copy that she sent me turned up, a friend had turned up at the same time. We walked in the door, and there's this parcel, and I've picked it up and I've opened it. I'm like, oh, this is a book from Mel. And my friend's looked at it, and she's going, oh my God, maybe I need to read that. And I
whoa.
The universe has decided that is so.
That's amazing.
So then I jumped on and bought a copy of your book, and that turned up, like 2 days later.
Yeah. Anyway, one day I'll get to hold my own book, but a lot of other people are holding it and loving it, and yeah, there's a lot of that story in there. But basically that session was like so intense. It was a 3-hour session. Yeah, Ryan, because I had seen him like a year prior. He was looking real buff, everything real good, you know. And so I saw him a year later after his little, what do we call it? Living in a drug den, binge, drug dealer, getting locked up.
His existential crisis.
His rock bottom. His clothes are all torn. He was like all dirty. He was 15 kilos lighter. But yeah, I just got to work with him, and he basically, like, I guess, woke up in that session or whatever, and didn't use after that. But that really, 2 days after that, the whole building burnt down. Was it? I think it was the next day, actually. Did he tell you that?
No.
So I got invited to like have an office where my friend was like they got a cafe in Port Melbourne on Bay Street, right?
Yeah.
And they bought it and they renovated it, and so it was a health food cafe, and upstairs I had these rooms. They're like, hey, do you want a room? I'm like, yeah. It was beautiful, and there was like a yoga studio and a few of us, and me and a counselor and that. And anyway, they had just finished renovating. I was up there. That's when Ryan came. He came in there. And so when we did the session, like, it was intense energy. Like, I haven't had such an intense one since, to be honest. Like, I was just pumping out energy. He was like vibrating on the bed over there. It was so weird. Anyway, like...
This isn't a sex story now, is it?
No, it's not. It
Right,
sounds
okay,
like it, but it's not. No.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
And so... Yeah, and so what happened was because it's a cafe, the kitchen was downstairs directly under my office, right?
Yeah.
And so the next day, like, I was still partying at that stage a little bit. The next day I had a massive night, whatever, woke up and one of the girls walks in my room, and the other healer, and she's like, hey, just letting you know that your office is burnt down. And I'm like, what? And I had a hangover and shit, and I was like, can I talk to you later? And then she's like, yeah. And then I woke up and I looked at the news, and I'm like, oh my god, like, my office is gone, like, what the fuck? And then after like investigating, they found some electricity had ran into an air conditioner in the kitchen directly above, or some power directly above the kitchen, directly below my office, that hadn't for about 5 years, and it burnt the whole building down. And so Ryan and I, like, that session was so intense, it ran energy into the aircon, and he was an aircon mechanic. I'm like, we've literally burnt the building down with our energy.
What a cathartic experience. It's like the phoenix rising literally from the ashes.
I know. It was like, and I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, like, I'll just find another space. And I was like, that's amazing. Like,
That's pretty intense.
that's the universe going, yes, you guys are like, and it wasn't even romantic at that point. It was still just, and then that really, like, and then he kept seeing me for sessions, and then he wanted me to teach him, you know, and then we were like business partners. And then after a while, finally, I let my walls down. and then, you know, and then by that time we had our own, this Melbourne Centre of Healing. And so when I realized, and it was a mutual friend that said, what are you doing, Mel? Like, he obviously likes you. Like, I'm like, yeah, I know, but, like, you know, he's my business partner and he was my client. Like, it's so wrong. She's like, just let your walls down. And I'm like, fuck, all right. And then I messaged him that night. I'm like, hey, I think I like you, or something along those lines.
Aw.
And then he went to call me, and I just piffed my phone on the bed. I'm like, don't fucking call me. And I went out had a shower, and I was like having a panic attack in the shower. Like, what the fuck am I doing? And then the next day I walked into work. He's like, I'm surprised you're here. And I'm like, yeah, I know, this is so fucking awkward. And I went and sat on the couch. He's like, well, you have to kiss me now. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like full having a panic attack, like go, like next to him, like this, like, fuck. And I'm like, for 2 days I was like full just panicking. And he took me on a date the next day, and he like rocked up with a suit and booked like a seafood restaurant, and, you know, and then he's like, we walked in, he's like, this is our first date, like telling everyone, and pulled the chair out for me. And it was just really intense, but that's how it started.
Wow. And so, when did you settle into it? When did you stop having your panic attacks? And
after like a week or something.
when was the first kiss?
That day, he said, when I walked the next morning, he said, oh, we have to kiss now.
And you did?
Yeah, like after my
While
little panic attack. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. So you
Because
burned the building down.
it just like all the walls had to come down, and like all my rules, and like, yeah. So that was the start, and as intense ever
So
since.
how long ago was that? How long ago has been together?
Oh, I don't know, like 3.5, 4 years, or 3.5 years, I think, something like
Okay.
that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you were rolling at the Centre for Healing across from Southland in Melbourne.
Firstly, we were in Hampton East because we wanted to
yeah.
be next to the float centre because we're sending
Yeah.
clients to floats. And then we grew, so then I took someone else on board, and then we had a nutritionist and another healer, and only an office with a little reception area and like one healing room. And the poor nutritionist is like trying to see clients on people walking in and out. We couldn't. We
Dear.
booked a capacity. We didn't have enough room. It was like a 70s office, like an old like medical clinic, and there was like ghosts and shit, and I don't know. It was so. Anyway, we're like, okay, now we're going to grow out of it, and we want to go to a big office, opposite Southland, which I think you came and saw when you came to do some podcasts initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we and then the move to Thailand, and so that's the next chapter.
Yeah. So we grew to like quite a big team. So we had 2 full-time healers. We had the kinesiologists who were all working our asses off, and Ryan and I were feeling really stressed. I'm like, how can we teach people spirituality and inner peace when we're fucking stressed out of our minds? Add a baby to it, and I think that just like pushed us over the line. So I'm like, and then I got inspired by one of Ryan's friends, Matt, who said, who spoke about his story about moving online, and I'm like, you know, it sounds really good and it sounds really family friendly. You know, I didn't want to be away from my son. I was feeling a little mum guilt. And so, yeah, we started that transition last year. And because actually, these are the words that me and Ryan said, we need to isolate. We actually initially started looking at places in like the country, like Gippsland and stuff. We were driving around. We're like, we just need to isolate from people for like 6 months. We just need our space so we're burnt out, you know?
Don't tell me you two manifested COVID.
We either manifested COVID or we knew it was coming. So
Yeah. Oh my good lord! Don't be angry at Dan Andrews for those of you in Victoria. Bloody Ryan and Mel manifesting COVID. Oh yeah, we need some isolation. We didn't have to include us in that.
everyone needed a little bit. Come on.
Yeah. You're right. It's funny, when I came back from Thailand, I came back with this philosophy that I wanted to live life as slowly as possible. You know, and then I've learnt since then that my spirit animal is a turtle, so it sort of all fits in really well. And so when COVID happened and everyone was forced to slow down, I was like, I was already in that space, and I was just welcoming everybody. I'm like, oh, hi, how are you? Come on in, everyone. Yeah, isolation for everyone. It's a beautiful
Do you
thing.
know what, Nick? That's the thing with being like, with doing so much work and being so clear, is that your soul can come in, and our souls are like, they can see so much further than we can see on the physical plane. So if you are following your intuition, we're naturally going to, it's like our soul is like our parent, like, and it knows that if we run across the road, they can see the truck coming up ahead, you know? And so it can see that before we can see it. So if we're in tune with our intuition, we can be 2 steps ahead. And I feel like that's what happened with us. Like we moved the whole business online. You know, we already planned to like live here just in time. I think we came on one of the last flights over here in March. So yeah, I think that's a huge part of it, you know?
And I came back from Thailand in March. I'd been working over at Shiva Som, the health resort that I work at. So I'd just done a 2-week stint there. So I flew back and just got back in time for Corona, which was great because I had to open up my new space. So I had to be here to create a space while everyone's in lockdown.
People need that, Nick. That's what they
well,
need.
people are going to need it now more than ever. And I think
Yeah.
and I talk to people about Corona and I say, look, there's pros and cons to everything, and I've been through enough lows and had enough experience, I guess, to realise it never feels good when you're in it, but if you can find the value, then it's always much better after. And Corona's no different. So one of the amazing things for Corona is that it's bringing, well, everyone's starting to understand that we've all got mental health, which is great. But then it's bringing all of their disturbances and everything, all these distortions to the surface.
The distractions aren't there.
Yeah, so people have to start dealing with their shit, and it's beautiful, and it's horrible at the same time, but it's long term, it's beautiful. So being here, and then this building opened up for lease, and it just happened really organically, and it's like we sort of preempted that the community going to need somewhere or something like this to heal after COVID.
Totally. Yeah. No, I
crazy,
agree.
man.
I saw a meme and it was like really encapsulates it. It's like these, I don't know if you've seen it. It's these people like on a roller coaster, like about 6 people, and everyone's like like scared, and there's this one guy just
One
like
dude's, he's
stoic. And it's like because you've been through so many like dark nights of the souls and that before that this is nothing. Like
I've actually posted it on my Instagram, and I said me coming out of me in times of trauma or something, just after I'd come out of the Vipassana retreat, like just, everyone else is freaking, I'm just like come out zen as fuck, just, it's all good, everything's good. So what's your book?
Awesome.
So how did where was the book idea first born, and how did it come to fruition? How long was the gestation period? All that.
So I actually saw like the memories that pop up on your Facebook that I started it about 3 years ago,
Right.
and I don't know if it was just because I'm just like I just remember just getting into this kind of like really like hectic state of like I've got to write a book, and I just started getting pieces of paper really manically and just writing down like the chapters, right? And I just on my table, and I was like writing them and like crazily just like jotting down, and so I don't know, it just
So what's the? Cause I did a course years ago, and I'd love to write a book. I've got all, maybe I need to have.
I'm sure you have a lot to say.
But it's so when I did this course, and I was talking about publishing a book, and they said, what's the central answer, the central question, because people come to a book because they're looking for something. So what question does your book answer?
So basically it's helping people find inner peace, like in a nutshell, but it's actually coming from my own personal journey of the whole mindset that most people have of like you need to try and be happy all the time.
I was thinking about that just before we started, and this whole the pursuit of happiness, and people are chasing happiness, and I'm like, if you're chasing happiness, you're already on the wrong path.
That's
you're
right.
already in the future.
And that's how people start in terms of their people pleasing and addictions, and that was really a part of like a lot of my behaviors, like a lot of my addictions were me trying to like show the world that I was doing well, and that me trying and stay in this state of happiness is just unobtainable. So it's really about helping people. It's called the natural high because instead of finding drugs, external people and behaviors to find the high, it's about finding that within you actually via your purpose and inner peace. So
you
that's
should
what it's
listen
all
to one
about.
of our podcasts with with Ralph Dickerbeck from We Are All One Story, and he's the Purple Heart recipient, and he was a soldier, Marine, had his legs blown off, learned how to ice skate somehow, and made the Paralympic team.
Wow.
And won a gold medal at the Paralympic Games, and he spoke about after the gold medal. Like he'd been to war, he'd won a Purple Heart, got his legs blown off, he'd learnt to skate, got a gold medal, and he said he went to this depression after the gold medal because he'd finally obtained this thing. And I said to him, "What's out of all of these things? What's the one thing that you've really valued the most?" And he said, find that inner peace and that happiness within. It's not out there, it's always been in here, and that the most valuable thing was him recognizing where that happiness exists.
That's right. And so the people like that it's aimed towards are really people that are just new to on their personal development journey. And also because obviously we ran a rehab clinic, so people that have addictions, to kind of awaken them to a different way of obtaining what they're trying to obtain.
Yeah.
So because we've transitioned to just doing online courses, we've stopped our rehab programs. I wanted to still have something there for people, and so that really pushed me to finish writing the book and publish it, just so, because I felt bad. I'm like, people are still coming to our website, they're wanting, they're wanting help to recover, they're looking for rehab, but we don't offer that anymore personally. We do have other practitioners on the website that offer that they can reach out to, but yeah, I just wanted to give that everything that I've learned on my journey and what we've taught others in regards to that. Yeah.
So the Natural High, and people can jump on the website and buy a copy of that?
Yep. So the centreforhealing.com.au, on the top it just says the book, and click on that. The book.
We had that with a client yesterday as well. Shane's working with me now.
Yeah, which is
and
awesome.
So we had a discovery session, and in every discovery session I hand the client a diary so they can take notes and everything. And this client, her husband came in for a discovery session on Monday, and I said, write all this stuff down, and we do a couple of exercises which bring some things to the surface, and she says, what did my husband get? I said, I can't share that information with you. If you want to find it. She goes, I'll go and find it in the book. I'll find it in the book. And so it's twice in 2 days I've heard the book. And I'm like, it's very
maybe
profound.
that's a title of your book.
For my book, yeah.
It's the book. Like,
The
that's
book.
it. Simple
That's
as that.
I'm going to rock it.
Yeah.
The title of my book was The Hard Path to Happiness. So that's maybe...
Doesn't have quite as much of a ring to it, but yeah.
I'm scrapping it. I'm going with the book now.
Don't worry about the Bible, the Quran. We've got the book. Like, that's it. That's all you need. That's the end of it.
And my stick figures will be in there. It's going to be amazing. It's
yeah.
going to be wonderful. I guess from afar, I admire who you are just for who you are and what you've done, but also from a business perspective, because I know firsthand, I've been running my business by myself for 13 years. Just got Shane coming on board now, and so that's brought a different energy. But it's finding that balance between trying to work in it and work on it and create the content and all that. How do you... Are you good at juggling? Are you
oh my god, Nick, this is my journey, Nick. Like, when Ryan and I started and we were in that little dingy office, we were working 12-hour days, and I forget that sometimes. And now I've got it down to working 2 hours a day, and only 1 or 2 clients a week, because I had to, because of my mum guilt, and because I need to recharge. And I'm someone, I like to sit there and kind of create things in the ether in my mind, and then all of a sudden I'll just bring it into reality. I'll just dump it. So it's been a massive journey. I've got an assistant now, who helps me a lot with all the mundane tasks. But yeah, it's taken 5 years to get to this point where actually we've made more money than we have, working less hours than we ever have, which is
smarter instead of harder.
Yeah, but I feel like, I probably couldn't just teach someone that, because I can, and I do in our courses. We have a practice in a box, and I teach everything that because we've made over $1 million in our in the Centre for Healing, like over the 5 years, and I'm really passionate about what my purpose is, to help healers do it full time. And I feel like, because I was lucky that I studied business when I finished school, and I feel like that's a missing piece of people, because more people need healing, and you're not going to get out there if you're not able to sustain yourself with the business.
But healers are great at being healers, but they're shit business people. Like, they're always undervaluing and underselling themselves, aren't they?
Yeah, and I'm here telling them, I'm like, charge more.
Yeah, and they're trying to be in the gutter with the people they're trying to help, and like, no, you need to be out there.
And I've been there too, and you know what? It's a journey,
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, so in terms of business, the thing that's really changed it for me is stopping having to make so many decisions by getting a bit more woo-woo with my business decisions. And it sounds really contradictory because people think, well, if you're really spiritual, you wouldn't be so focused on your goals. You know, I think I've got it here. I carry this around the house, like our goals of how much you want to make every month, by when and how many hours. You know, but I check everything in the Akashic records because your business has an energy, right? What?
The Akashic records. Emma, my girlfriend, we were in bed this morning. She jumped on Instagram.
This is PG, right?
Yeah. So we had clothes on,
Okay.
and she was just scrolling through, and we were talking, and then she found this Akashic record. She found this advertising for it was a diploma in all of these real random things, but it was in Great British pounds. It was £127 reduced to £29.
Oh yeah, Centre for Excellence.
Yeah,
their little courses.
yes, that's who it was. And there's this Akashic Records diploma came up. She's like, "What's Akashic Records?" And I'd never heard of it. And I said, and I like to try and pretend I know things just to make things up and take the piss out of myself. And I started doing that, but then all of a sudden, I started knowing what I was saying, and I said, it's like, and this is creepy. I said, it's like our soul's filing system, and it's like where we store all our things, and it's like our filing cabinet, and we can just go there and we keep all these records of through our lifetimes and everything. And
Your soul is just like pew pew pew.
Dude, I was fucking tuned right in. And
oh my god.
And she's looking at me questioning because she knows I like to take the piss sometimes. She goes, "Are you being serious?" I said, I wasn't at the start, but I think I am now. And I said, we have to figure out what it is, because maybe I've just reached into my Akashic records to learn about Akashic records. And it was just this mind-blowing... And so anyway, she looked it up and it was spot on. I was like, fuck. And there, you've just said it as well.
Yeah, it's a huge part of it. I've got my Akashic Records book here. So it's not something, it's something that I do on the side. It's like a hobby, right?
Yeah.
And so Akashic Records, you know, and initially I got into it because it was about manifesting, but it's really about what is the signature of your soul? What is your main energy? And are there any issues on a soul level that could be blocking your abundance? You know, how does your energy work best? How should you work? What is the most effective way for you to work? How should you show up for your business? So that's where I started with it. And then I did another course, and it explained actually, you know, your business, depending on what level, like it starts off attached to your record, but your business has a record too. And your business has its own, it's not a soul, but it's an entity, right? And so you literally can tap into that and see how other souls see your business and who you can attract. And actually you can get really geeky with it. So I can check down to the color that I put on a sales page, or down to the picture that I put on the website, or the energy behind the words that I'm saying. Are they aligned with our intention or not?
Wow.
So I literally, I do an audit like every few months. So ever since I've done that, and it tells you to do things that sometimes you don't want to do, or that is out of your comfort zone, or you're like really attached to a certain program or an offering, and it says that you can't do it, or that needs to be changed, or the price needs to go up or down, and you're just kind of like, shit. And that's what happened. It said you can't do your mental health and addiction programs anymore. I'm like, but that's been our sole income for 5 years. Like, people love it. Like, how can I let go of that? And it's saying, well, if you want this intention to come into fruition, you have to let that go. And I was like, fuck. I'm like, have another panic attack. Like, you know.
How deep is your attachment?
And so I'm like, it already showed me results, and so I'm like, I have to trust it. And Ryan's a little bit sus on it, to be honest. Like, and so I'm like saying, I'm telling Ryan like how to, the Akashic records are telling Ryan how to do his ads. He is not happy with that, the Facebook ads. But I'm like, we have to do it because look, it's like it works, and we did it, and I let go, and it's been fine, you know. And I've been able to send clients to my students, and it's been beautiful, you know.
Well, it's a discomfort precedes success is a Myndfit motto, and it sounds like
there
you're
we go.
embodying that.
Exactly. Yeah. But if I didn't, if I don't think I would have thought of doing that on my on the ego human plane. I would have been too scared of, you know. I feel like
I have a tendency to do that though. I love to turn left instead of right. So.
Okay.
3 years ago, I just completely upended my business and changed my business model, and I looked at my client database and to split into two databases, and this is the people I love working with, and this is who I don't really enjoy. I feel a bit drained working with them, and that list was massive, and the clients I love working with because of the energy was really small.
Is that 80-20? Classic 80-20?
Yeah, classic 80-20.
Yeah.
So I referred on the 80% and kept the 20%, and then I went, how can I just, work with more of these people? What can I put out there? And when I let go of the 80%, it was hard, but it was so it freed up space for more of the 20 to come in. So.
And maybe like rephrasing your motto is like, any time that I've gone into courage, like stepped into courage. Do I have my scale? This is our like scale of consciousness. This is like our chart, and so courage is here. So we got, this is Dr. Hawkins' scale of consciousness. So anything like up here is like, you're not in ego anymore, right? So courage is the step into the next level, so
I call it living in trust. So it's just that, my counsellor said to me, he goes, Nick, you're a bit of a weird unit because you trust the seaworthiness of your own ship, which most people don't. So I just have this deep belief, I guess it is. It's more than a belief. It's just a knowing that I'm going to be okay, and I have to let go. I have to break down and rebuild and break down. My what am I in Japanese? I'm a snake, so I'm always shedding my skin. So I actually don't have an issue doing that. I love, everything's impermanent. So that's something I embody as well. So I have no problem scratching everything and then starting it again.
That's really interesting because this morning I was like applied to get into some group, and it said, what is the meaning of life? And I just wrote to grow, and so that's with everything, right? Like that's why we're here. That's what I believe anyway. And so even when it comes like to business, people need to know like whatever you start with, it's going to change like over time. It's not going to be perfect right away. And that's what stops people from starting. You got to know that as you grow, it's going to evolutionize. It's going to innovate. It's going to change. You can't just set up for me, like I set up the course. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I just record it once and it sells over and over. No, it's constantly having to be updated, and there's no like real residual kind of income in that sense, because things need to be maintained. Like even if you buy properties, they need to be maintained and like upgraded.
Stagnation just kills things, doesn't it?
There you go.
Needs that flow. It needs, it needs energy flowing through it. Our bodies need blood flowing through it. It needs shifting. It needs evolving. And there's that expression that a man who is the same at 40 as he was at 20 has just wasted 20 years of his life.
Love that. That's so true.
And so it's just, but people are afraid of change, and the anxiety that comes up in it. It's because they're so attached to this sense of security. I need to feel safe. This business is working for me at the moment. It's generating income. This is safe. I'm going to hold on to this, and all of a sudden, they're fucked because they've created this attachment, and then they're trying to freeze things as it is. But the universe is going to continue to go. Energy is trying to continue to flow, but as soon as you freeze it, you block it, and that energy becomes stagnant. It's like the chi. You go and see a.
That's what I'm imagining in my mind. It's like that river of chi, and if you like try and like just go like that it would
If you
just smash you
tighten
into
up,
bits.
Yeah, you go and see a doctor of Chinese medicine, and he's going to unblock your chi, and it's going to start flowing, and all of a sudden you feel better. It's like there's movement, and that's what we need. And our businesses need that too. So I was going to ask you, as you were talking about it, and you said the word, I was like, oh, maybe I should ask Mel if she can do an audit on my Akashic records of my business and my entity. Can you do that for other people's businesses?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I haven't really done that yet.
Do you want
but
to try?
I'd love to. You can be my guinea pig and see.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love being guinea pig.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I'll
All right,
send
well,
you what you need.
Yeah,
to
perfect.
tap in.
Well,
Yeah.
especially now because we're just in the birth phase of it, and you know, we interviewed my friend Deb from Soul Evolution. I think you and Deb would get along well. She came on the podcast, and she's running the meditations for our online membership.
I
So
saw. What did you call it? Something with Deb.
Well, her business is called Soul Evolution, so I think it was just.
But you said, was it Saturdays with Deb, or is it something a
Deb's
bit more...
Delight.
There we go.
Deb's
Because I was
Delight.
like, Deb's Delight. What's this?
Yeah.
That really stood out.
Yeah, I didn't know what else to call it, so it just came to me. So
Yeah, it's
maybe
awesome.
in my Akashic records went, yeah, it's going to be called Deb's Delight. So she'll be doing tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. a live meditation. But yeah, so numerology, she really is a master in numerology, and she spoke to me once about the numerology numbers. So I'm an 11. So
I'm an 11 as well.
Are you?
Yeah, master number 11.
Sister,
Pew.
knuckles bang. I've got it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so we just bought a house, and it's number 29.
Oh my god.
I know, right? That's awesome. But she spoke about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 is the seed of a thought, and then number 2 is then talking about number 3, and so she went through this thing, and I looked at my past relationships and realised that I was skipping so many steps. I'd have the idea that maybe I wanted to be in a relationship and find someone, but then I'd jump all these really important steps. So this relationship with them, I've really been trying to follow these steps, and because we're trying to construct something, so it's like you forget to put some bricks in place, and then it's going to fall down.
Mm-hmm.
So with the business, it's in its early stages, so to have someone come in and do an audit would be amazing.
Yeah, I'd love to. It'd be my honour.
Yay. And then we've got so many things for you to do, because we need to put some programs online, and then we need to do workshops, and we need to
Yeah,
all
you
this,
can
so-
actually put current products or intended. So intended ones are ones that you've already been thinking about. There's already some energy in the record of that product, and we can check that as well.
Oh, this is going to be the best day ever.
Trust me, it takes out so much wasting time. Like, it's
Yeah.
been amazing. Yeah.
Oh, I'm genuinely excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait. This is going to be awesome. So for someone sitting here listening, and we're talking about the natural high, and before we get into that, I had a friend who was with someone who was using ice, and they hadn't used it for about 4 months, and she set a really firm boundary. She said, "I'm not going to be with you if you use." And then one weekend she found that he'd used, so she went, "No, I broke up with him," which was a shame. There's a great connection, lovely guy, blah blah blah. And there's no right or wrong in that instance, but I really wanted to chat with you about it, about what does someone who's in a relationship with an addict, how do they do? Where do you set the boundaries and ease the boundaries off? Where do you come at it from compassion and love, or where do you, is there 3-strike policy? What's some advice for someone out there that's in that relationship?
Yeah, so what we say is it's to the degree of resentment that's there. So, we always say be as compassionate as you can, be caring, have boundaries in terms of not cutting people off, but encouraging them to recover. But, you know, if you get to the degree of where you're trying to be loving and compassionate and the resentment is building up, that's going to create a wall in the relationship anyway. And that's actually that resentment that builds up in you, say your partner's an addict, is going to cause you to starting to shame them and guilt them, which may trigger them to want to use more. Not saying it's your fault, just saying that it could, because you start looking at them with anger and resentment, right? So to the degree of the resentment should be to the degree of the boundaries, and if it's too much. So that's the most general answer that I can give, because there's so many circumstances, and obviously we deal with people that deal with their own children and things like that.
Yeah.
Be as compassionate as you can for as long as you can, but yeah, just watch that resentment, and that's when more stronger boundaries should be coming into play, basically.
Yeah. I've had to help a few mums let go of their sons who have just been very far down the ice path, and it's not my area of expertise, but I've spoken to the mums about their attachment and holding on to this person because you think they should be better, or you think they should. These mums are imposing their beliefs, and are caring more about their son's happiness than their sons are caring about their own happiness. So there's that dysfunction in the relationship there, and so we've had to help them to step back and to let go, which is very hard for a mother to do to their son. But it's important, otherwise they're going to get taken down with them, and they're going to end up just as in a bad place mentally or spiritually.
Yes, and like you do need to have a full cup to really help someone properly. And secondly, you know, if you usually we're trying to fix someone else to, unless you're a practitioner and someone's like paying you to help them, usually you try to fix someone else or a loved one because it's making you feel uncomfortable. And it doesn't have to just be addiction. It could, or even your own child, you know, you want them to stop screaming because it's causing you to feel unease, and if you weren't allowed to scream when you were younger, you can't hold a space for them.
Or it goes against your belief that my child should be perfect and my definition
or
of perfect
my child is a reflection of me, you know, or, you know, so yeah, it's really about being able to have your cup full so you can create a safe space for someone, rather than coming from a place of you need to be better so I feel better, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Because in terms of my work, that's the attachment is the source of suffering. So if you're attached to a belief that they should be good because they're your son, and you have an attachment to a desired outcome that they be happy and healthy, all of a sudden you're creating your own suffering because
that's right. And they'll say, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah. And it's just that ego involved. They're taking it personally.
That's right.
This person's not waking up in the morning and choosing to smoke some
How
crack.
can I fuck up my mum today?
Yeah. Wake up. What time is it? 8 a.m. Oh, it's time to smoke crack, so I really disappoint my mum.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a conscious thought. But that's what so many people are doing, making it about us or making it about them. I had another couple come to see me, sort of in their early 70s. Beautiful people, but they came in because they wanted help trying to get their son to have some help. They couldn't figure out how to get their son to get help. And after 2 sessions, they both said to me, maybe we need to do some work on ourselves. And I was sitting there going, you think? So they both went through a 12-week program themselves, and coming out of that, or even 7 weeks into it, they both went, our relationship with our son has changed amazingly because we've taken off our expectations and our pressures. The dynamic, the energy is all shifted.
That's
and now our version of happiness isn't it. You know, our son's version of happiness is different to our version of happiness, but they can appreciate that now because they've stepped away from it and they've lost that attachment. So all of a sudden the son doesn't have an issue with being around his mum and dad anymore because he can just be himself.
Yeah.
And he's not using as much because he doesn't feel that angst and that negative energy coming through.
That's right, yeah. And I get really interested in all that, and if anyone wants to look into that more, like for themselves, like, look up Conscious Parenting by Dr. Shafali. It's like, it actually triggers me listening to it, but it's really good. She's got 2
In what way?
books.
What triggers you?
Oh, I just feel like it's just I think I've still got a bit of PTSD from healing so many people's traumas, because that's what we do. So I'm still unraveling that, and also having my own son and also having my own trauma growing up. So, but it really like uncovers that whole thing of like society and how, you know, they just put all this pressure on kids starting from so young, like 2 years old, to be academically so switched on, and, you know, for the kids not to play up and the parents get offended, and everything we've just been talking about, and how, but it really, her main message is like, you've just, like the parents, you just have to do your own like healing, basically. Like, let the kid be the kid, like stop trying to shape them.
They can't step into, they can't observe their child without being triggered unless they've got a really clean and healthy core themselves.
Yeah.
What are you barking at, Polly? What are you woofing at? And I see it all the time when we use an example. If you see a mum in a supermarket and she's got a 5-year-old child by the hand and she's going, hurry up, would you, hurry up. It's all, she's trying to make this child with 5-year-old legs go at her adult pace. And it's so irrational that she's making it about her. Or the child will have a meltdown. I want this toy. No, you can't have the toy. Oh, but I want it. And he'll have a meltdown. And you'll see her turn bright red, and she'll go, you're embarrassing me. Stop it. You're embarrassing me. And you sit there and like, yeah, you can't let a 5-year-old have a meltdown because, you know, they're 5. They're going to have meltdowns. Like, live within the reality of what
and
is.
usually, you know, what's really interesting is they're usually having a meltdown because they're not feeling heard. And then in that same moment, the parent's not feeling heard. Like, you're not listening to me. Or, you know, but in that moment, the child's not being heard. You're feeling uncomfortable because the child's feeling uncomfortable. You're meant to be attuned to that and not attack them, but hold space for them.
Yeah, but they're both so heightened. But the parent gets heightened because they're operating off this irrational belief system. I must get what I want, which is for my child to be perfect.
And the kid's like, I want to get what I want.
Yeah. But the kid's not.
the
kid's not emotionally mature, so that's where that's the parents' responsibility.
Trust me, a lot of adults aren't either.
No,
they're the same level as a 3-year-old.
All these adults are trying to hold down adult jobs and adult relationships, but operating with this really immature belief system, and it's just not working.
And that's the thing, you know, if that child gets screamed at and their emotions are shut down when they're 3, what happens with that child is when they get older, when they feel like they're having a meltdown, they're going to act like a 3-year-old. They're still stuck in that trauma, you know.
Totally.
This is like where I'm so deeply passionate about kids being treated properly. Like, it's so deep in my heart because it just breaks my heart, you know. I wish I could just like get all the children of the world and just heal them all at once, but I can't. But
we want to get all the parents of the world.
That's right.
Heal them.
I know,
so
that's right.
They're in a position to look after the kids.
That's true.
I love the expression that adulthood is just undoing everything that happened to us in childhood.
Yeah.
And I think there has to be a shift in society about adults taking responsibility for their own happiness and taking responsibility for their own healing and getting themselves in a position where they can parent from a position of compassion and empathy and understanding, which they can't do if they're constantly triggered and reactive.
That's right. But I think, like, obviously this is woke blokes, and that awakening experience sets people on the path, however that starts for them. But I saw this really cool, like, scale. Like, I know I've got my normal scale of consciousness, but there's this other one where it's like the bottom is for the first one of consciousness is victimization. The second one is empowerment, MKH empowerment.
Shout out.
The third one, now I can't remember. Can I? God damn it.
Interesting how you made it about you and your initials in your own business, though.
I know, and then I just lost track. And then I can't remember what the next one is. It's either allowing or what's the other word for allowing? Just letting go. Surrender.
Yep.
Surrender, and then the top one's enlightenment, and they're those basic 4 levels. So you can see most people are in that victimization. You know.
And that victimization is the ego. It's me, my, I. It's amazing how many sentences start and end with I and then me at the end of it, and helping people to come into that understanding, to starting to listen to the words that they're using and the semantics that are in play and the sentences that they're employing. And it's once they become aware, they're like, shit, this is all about me. I'm expecting the universe and everyone in it to revolve around me and my needs and what I want. And in that, there's no place for a collective compassion or a collective consciousness, or
That's
just
right.
we're all me.
And that's a huge moment of awakening in itself, is realizing the oneness that we're all connected and it's not all about you. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Well, Mel, we could sit here and just talk about this for hours. Maybe we'll start a Woke Bloke and a Woke Woman podcast. We'll do a little side hustle or something. But I personally would love to do some more work with you. And I encourage any listeners to get in touch with Mel, because healer of the highest order. So,
thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. And yeah, my business is looking forward to having an audit done. We're going to, pull it apart and see what's going on.
Gonna put my fingers up there and see what's going on.
Get in and put your rubber glove on. Right.
Do a real good inspection up there.
It has been an honour to spend an hour with you. Thank you.
You too, Nick. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been great, and selfishly, I can't wait to see you guys come back here and give you all a big hug when we're allowed to start touching other people again, and see little Tommy, and I mean, he's 2 already. That's just gone so fast. So, and thanks for keeping Ryan in good shape, and I know
it's not the easiest job.
I was going to say, that's why you've reduced your work hours to 2 hours a day, because you've got
so I can monitor him.
Has time the rest of the time. But me and all the listeners appreciate it as well. So you're an amazing human doing an amazing thing. So thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome. All right, well, we'll end up there, listeners. Hopefully you've had some really good insights into today, and we recommend jumping on the centreforhealing.com.au and grabbing a copy of the book. What was it? The Natural High. Yep, and we'll
Secrets
see you
to Overcoming Instant Gratification and Finding Inner Peace.
Jesus, how's that for a tagline? Wow. Get your head around that. All right, thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week. Peace.